Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the person you trusted the most, your business partner, the man you built everything with, had stolen $800,000 from under your nose. Not because he was drowning in debt, not because he needed to feed his family, but because his wife had a shiny dream of building her own startup, and he thought your company's money was his personal ATM. And if that wasn't enough, they actually came back demanding more. That's not just betrayal. It's robbery wrapped in arrogance. Let me rewind the clock. When I started this company, I wasn't rich, I wasn't well-connected, and I wasn't some business genius. I was just a guy with an idea and a work ethic. I knew I couldn't do it alone. And that's when I met Daniel. He was smart, ambitious, and on paper, everything I lacked. Where I had vision, he had structure. Where I was creative, he was calculated. We shook hands, split ownership down the middle, and promised to build something big. The first 2 years felt magical. We lived in tiny apartments, ate ramen, and worked 14-hour days. Every new client felt like a trophy. Every late night felt like an adventure. We were brothers in the trenches. I trusted him with everything, our books, our bank accounts, our contracts, and as the money started flowing, my trust only grew. I thought, this is the guy who will ride with me until the end. But what I didn't know was that while I was celebrating small wins, he was plotting something I couldn't see. Because betrayal doesn't shout, it whispers. And when it finally shows itself, it's already too late. Looking back now, the signs were there. They always are, but when you're blinded by trust, you don't see them. Daniel started becoming secretive about finances. He insisted on handling all the accounting himself. At first, I thought it made sense. He was the numbers guy. I hated spreadsheets, and he loved them. But slowly, his updates became vague. If I asked for details, he'd wave me off with lines like, "Don't worry, everything's under control." And like a fool, I believed him. Another red flag? His lifestyle started changing faster than ours. We were both drawing modest salaries, trying to reinvest into the business. I drove the same old car I had since college, but suddenly he was pulling up in a luxury SUV. He'd show up wearing designer watches. His wife, who barely worked, started traveling more than some celebrities. At first, I told myself, maybe he's got family money, maybe he's investing wisely. I didn't want to assume the worst. Then came the excuses. He was always busy when it came time for financial reviews, always pushing meetings, always saying, "I'll send you the documents later." And because the business was still growing, because the cash flow seemed fine, I ignored it. That's the danger of success. It can cover up the cracks until it's too late. The final straw before everything exploded was when our staff started complaining about delayed payments. I thought it was just bank issues, but now I know it was the first sign that money was leaking out faster than it was coming in. And the person poking holes in our ship was the man I thought was patching them. The day I found out still feels like a movie scene. I got a call from our bank manager. He said, "Sir, do you know about these large wire transfers going out every week?" My heart dropped. I rushed to the office, pulled up the accounts, and there it was. Hundreds of thousands quietly funneled out over months. 800,000 in total. Vanished, and the accounts showed exactly where it went. To a company's, under his wife's name. I confronted him that evening. I'll never forget his face. Calm, almost arrogant. I asked, "Why? Why would you do this?" And he shrugged. He said, "You wouldn't understand. This is bigger than us. Her startup is the future." And I had to support her. I couldn't believe it. He didn't look guilty. He looked proud, like he was some kind of visionary husband sacrificing for love. But he wasn't sacrificing his money. He was sacrificing mine, our employees, our future. It wasn't just the theft that cut me. It was the casual way he justified it, as if I should clap for him. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was planned, carefully, methodically planned. And the man I trusted had chosen his wife's dream over our shared dream. The days after were chaos. Employees panicked when rumors spread. Clients started asking questions. Our vendors demanded late payments. My phone was ringing nonstop. Everyone wanted answers. And all I had was betrayal. I had to gather the team and admit what happened. I can't explain how humiliating it felt to stand in front of people who believed in me, people who left stable jobs to work for us, and tell them, the money's gone. Some cried, some shouted, some quietly packed up their desks. That's when it hit me. His betrayal wasn't just against me, it was against everyone who trusted us. And while I was picking up the pieces, Daniel had the audacity to call me. Not to apologize, not to make it right, but to demand more. He said, "Look, if you just invest another $500,000 into her startup, we can all win." I almost laughed. The man had burned down our house and was asking me for wood to build his wife's mansion. That was the moment my grief turned into fire. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. Not for me, not for my team, not for anyone who put their faith in us. Filing a lawsuit against your business partner feels like suing your own family. It's messy, expensive, and emotionally draining. But I had no choice. I gathered every bank statement, every email, every piece of evidence. The lawyers looked at the numbers and shook their heads. "This is clear embezzlement," they said, "but it won't be easy. He'll fight back." And fight he did. He spun stories about how the transfers were loans, how I approved them verbally, how it was all a misunderstanding. He brought in fancy lawyers, tried to paint me as incompetent, even tried to smear my reputation in front of clients. It felt like war. A war I never asked for. Court hearings dragged on for months. Every time I saw him sitting across the table, calm, collected, whispering to his lawyers, I felt rage boiling inside me. But I had to stay composed, because this wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. It was about proving that you can't steal from people who trusted you and walk away smiling. People talk about money loss, but they don't talk enough about the emotional loss. The nights I couldn't sleep, the mornings I didn't want to get out of bed, the way my family worried about me, asking if I was eating, if I was okay, the way trust became a foreign word. I started questioning everyone, friends, employees, even myself. And the worst part? The guilt. I kept thinking, how could I not see it? How could I let him handle everything without double checking? How could I be so blind? That guilt ate at me more than the missing money. But here's what I learned. Sometimes betrayal says more about them than it does about you. I wasn't stupid for trusting him. He was rotten for betraying me. And once I accepted that, I started to heal. One day, in the middle of this storm, I sat down and asked myself, am I going to let this define me? Am I going to let one man's greed destroy everything I worked for? Or am I going to rebuild, smarter and stronger? That was my turning point. I restructured the company, took back full financial control, built systems of accountability, hired better auditors. And slowly, client by client, project by project, we started crawling back. It wasn't easy. Some doors closed forever, but new ones opened. And every small win felt 10 times sweeter because I knew what it took to get there. Eventually, the court ruled in my favor. He was found guilty of embezzlement. Assets were seized. His wife's startup collapsed before it even took off. And the man who once pulled up in a luxury SUV was now fighting bankruptcy. But let me be clear. Winning in court didn't feel like victory. The money we recovered was only a fraction of what was lost. The real victory was reclaiming my peace, knowing I stood up for myself and my team. This whole nightmare taught me lessons I'll never forget. 1. Trust, but verify. Even if it's your best friend, even if it's family, always have checks and balances. 2. Success can blind you. When things are going well, that's when you need to pay the most attention. And 3, betrayal can break you, but it can also build you. Because after surviving this, I know there's nothing life can throw at me that I can't handle. If you're listening to this story, let it be a reminder. Betrayal doesn't always come with a warning sign. Sometimes it wears a smile, shakes your hand, and sits right next to you. But when it happens, you have 2 choices. Let it destroy you, or use it as fuel to rise higher. I chose the second. And today, while I'll never forget what he did, I'm grateful. Because his betrayal taught me strength I didn't know I had. So, to Daniel, if you're out there listening, thank you. You tried to bury me, but you forgot I was a seed.